So this is the start of section 3.2, and most of the questions in 3.2 are going to be very similar. They're either going to ask you to find the sample variance and standard deviation or the population variance and standard deviation. The ones toward the end, I think 4 and 5, might only ask you for the standard deviation and not the variance, but you're still going to follow that same procedure for all of them to find those. So the process for finding the sample variance and standard deviation and the population variance and standard deviation, you're going to go through all the same steps. It's just picking a different number out of that output in the end. So with both of them, you're going to go through, it's actually all the same steps you did if you use the calculator to find the mean and the median. So you're going to hit the stat button first, just like you did there, and then edit will already be highlighted, and so you'll hit enter, and you'll have your list of your group of lists here. I've already put the numbers into here, but just as a quick reminder, if you have numbers in here from a previous problem, then when you get to this screen, arrow up one so that the L1 is highlighted, and then you hit the clear and the enter. I'm not going to do that right now because these are the numbers that I want to use for this problem. So once you've got your numbers entered in from the problem, then you hit the stat button again, this time arrow over to calc. So far this is all exactly what you did for mean and median. And again, you're going to go with the one var stats. You're going to probably already have your L1 on list, and that's just wherever you put your numbers. Frequency list still stays blank, and then calculate and enter. And so this is same screen that you got for mean and median. In that case, you use the X bar for the mean, and then the median you had to scroll down a little to get to it. Well, this time we still want this screen, but we want different numbers off of this screen. So in this first example, it's asking you to find the sample variance and standard deviation. The first one that you're going to answer is the sample standard deviation, even though it's the second one down, because that's a number that this gives you directly. And that is this SX 9.6678, etc. So, and it wants it out to, it says at least 2 decimal places. Sometimes though, if you put more decimal places than it wants, then it counts you as wrong. So I recommend, if it says at least 2 decimal places, to always do exactly 2 decimal places, never put more. So that would be 9.67 in this case. So we would just type in 9.67, but then we need the variance. The variance is the standard deviation squared, and so in this case, what I want you to do is, even though we've already got the sample standard deviation here out to 2 decimal places, you should write it down out to 4 decimal places. And so that would be 9.6678. And what I mean by that is just jot it down on a piece of paper. Don't put it out to 4 decimal places here. So you're just going to jot this down on some piece of scrap paper out to 4 decimal places. And that's because you need to use this number out to more decimal places to calculate the variance correctly. So now what you're going to do is you're going to put this number that you just wrote down, just type that into the calculator keys. And the reason I had you write it down is because as soon as you start doing that, the previous screen is going to disappear and you can't look at it for reference anymore. So 9.6678. And so the variance is this number squared. And so you're going to hit this button here, the x squared button, and enter. And so that gives you the answer to the sample variance, which is then 93.47, because again, this one, it wants out to 2 decimal places. So where you wrote down this number out to 4 decimal places, that is not gonna be a number that you enter for your answer here anywhere. That is just to calculate this. If you entered it only out to 2 decimal places, then it would be 9.67, and you square that, and it ends up being, in this case, 93.51 instead of 93.47. And the computer grading thing is probably going to count that as an incorrect answer. So that's why it's just a rounding error, but to get the answer that the computer system, grading system, is looking for, I've found that if you go out to 4 decimal places to calculate the variance, then you end up in good shape. The other one, if it's not asking you for a sample variance, if it's instead asking you for a population variance, then you go through all the same process. You do stat edit, put your numbers in, and now it's 16. Oh, I'm gonna erase this, clear, enter, 16, 6, 20, 12, 25. Okay, so same process there, and again we're going to go stat, calc, 1var_stat, enter, L1, frequency list blank, calculate. So we get the same kind of screen again because we went through the same steps. The only thing that we're going to do differently, if it says population, instead of using this SX number, we're going to use the one directly below it, and that is a sigma. It's a lowercase Greek s. It looks more like an O than an S, and it's called sigma. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it the little O with a tail thing. So in this case, it's going to be just like the other one where we enter that into the population standard deviation. So in this case, it's going to be 6.52. And then we're going to jot down somewhere on the side anywhere that's convenient. We're going to jot down 6.5238. And then that's what we're going to type into the calculator, 6.5238, square it, enter, and that is the answer for the population variance. 42, in this case it would round to 42.56. So that would be the actual answer for this, 42.56, and this is just on scrap paper. It does not go anywhere in your answers. The 4 and 5 are going to be similar, where they give you some numbers And I think in that case, you don't have to do the population variance, so just skip the last step. But always be sure that you're looking out for whether it's sample or population. So no matter what the problem is, they're always going to tell you that somewhere, and that's what you need to be on the lookout for as to whether you're going to use the SX or the sigma X for your answer.